can still, this is just.
I am. I can go through them. Okay. We have to wait till we have 11. So let me go ahead and explain the three nominees we're going to have today when we have a quorum that we can go to immediately, and I think they're all been approved. We'll have Dr. David Applegate to be Director of Geological Survey. We have Ambassador Carmen Cantor to be the Assistant Secretary of the Interior for Insular and International Affairs, and we have Dr. Evelyn Wong to be the Director of the Advanced Research Projects Agency Energy. We held a hearing on all three of these nominations on April 28th. I've supported all three nominees, and they're well qualified the positions to which they have been nominated. I think that we do have support in a bipartisan way, which is very good. Dr. Applegate has been a career geologist with the USGS for the past 18 years and has served as the acting director for the past year. Ambassador Cantor is a career member of the Senior Executive Service and is an experienced diplomat with the State Department. She has spent the last 2.5 years as our ambassador to federal states of Micronesia, a post to which the Senate confirmed her by voice vote. Dr. Wang is the head of the Mechanical Engineering Department at MIT and has served as the Associate Director of the DOE Solid State Solar Thermal Energy Conversion Center. I think all three nominees will bring their extensive knowledge and experience to their positions, and I would urge my colleagues to vote to confirm them. We will vote on the nominations once we have our quorum. Now for our hearing today, which is our drought hearing. Moving on to the focus of today's hearing, I want to thank you all for being here today as we discuss the Western drought crisis, an extremely pressing issue that is no doubt ever present in the minds of our Western colleagues. The West is currently facing a historic and mega drought, and 92% of the area at large is facing some degree of drought. From some states like Arizona, California, Nevada, New Mexico, and Utah, that figures at 100%. In the southwestern U.S., scientists have called this the worst that the area has seen in 1,200 years. I know the water issues out west are very different than what we have in West Virginia. We are often faced with the opposite problem of flooding and too much water rather than a drought. But it doesn't matter where you live. Drought has a domino effect that indirectly spills over into the lives of all Americans, from the economic losses to wildfires to food scarcities and higher food prices. The historic significance of this period should serve as a wake-up call to the entire country on the critical importance of stakeholders coming together to develop and implement drought-proof water solutions that tackle both water supply and water demand, especially in light of population growth and climate change. But as I've often said, in the topic of climate change, I want to stay focused on actionable solutions, and that will be the focus of the drought discussion today. The Bureau of Reclamation has a vital role to play when it comes to managing Western water resources and addressing water scarcity. President Teddy Roosevelt created the Bureau of Reclamation shortly after signing the Reclamation Act on June 17, 1902, 120 years ago this Friday. Today, the Bureau of Reclamation is the nation's largest water supplier, operating over 300 reservoirs that provide 1 in 5 Western farmers with the water for their crops and deliver 10 trillion gallons of drinking water to millions of people each year. But the agency is currently facing unprecedented challenges. Given historic low and continually declining levels of water in many of the country's largest reservoirs, in the Colorado River Basin, Lake Mead and Lake Powell have reached their lowest levels ever recorded. Currently, Lake Mead is sitting at 29% capacity, while Lake Powell is currently at 27% capacity. These lake levels put hydropower, which is critical to current and future grid reliability in the West, at risk, because the water must be high enough to actually turn the turbines. In fact, the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, or NERC, cited the threat of low water levels to hydroelectricity generation to be among the challenges to maintaining grid reliability in the West for the coming summer. Future water projections in this basin also look grim, and if water levels continue to decline, it would trigger the most severe water cuts for the Southwest. This is incredibly alarming to everyone. These reservoirs are a crucial source of water to millions of households, thousands of farmers and ranchers, wildlife habitat, and provide power for over 3.5 million homes. With multiple entities competing for limited water resources that reclamation facilities provide, there are no doubt going to be some tough decisions ahead about how to equitably allocate these water supplies. Last year, Congress invested in Western water infrastructure and provided the Bureau of Reclamation a historic amount of funding in the bipartisan infrastructure law, $8.3 billion, to fund projects that can provide short-term drought relief and long-term drought resilience. It provided funding for water recycling, desalination, storage, and aging infrastructure projects, incentives for water conservation and efficiency, and funding for projects that provide multiple benefits for people and the environment. I look forward to hearing from Commissioner Tootin about how the agency is prioritizing these funds to deal with our scarce water supplies and where additional congressional action may be needed to prepare for the future. While the discussion around drought has centered on water supply availability, water demand solutions must also be part of the conversation. I've talked at length about how energy efficiency is a common sense way to reduce our energy consumption, and I think it makes sense to look at water through the same lens. Water and energy are two sides of the same coin. It takes a lot of energy to treat the water we use in our everyday lives, and it takes substantial amounts of water to produce energy. Given the current drought and high energy costs we're seeing across the board, water conservation and efficient water use are the lowest hanging fruit to managing our demand. I understand there are tools available that can help Western communities make investments to conserve water. One such tool is the Bureau of Reclamation's Water Smart program. This program was designed specifically to address water demand by investing in irrigation infrastructure and water conservation and efficiency improvements to help communities respond to water scarcity conflicts across the arid West. One thing we can all agree on is that an all of the above collective approach is needed to adapt to these tough conditions because there are only so many ways to split such a critical and limited resource. I look forward to learning from our expert witnesses on where opportunities exist to further invest in both water supply and water demand. Finally, a long-term coordinated drought effort is going to require flexible water management strategies and meaningful investment at the state and federal level. The bottom line is this: water is the most essential resource to the health of our people, our economy, and our environment. But prolonged drought is becoming a frightening new norm. It's going to take effort and collaboration from all parties involved to commit to implementing sustainable drought solutions. Recognizing this reality is critical. So I look forward to learning more and discussing how we can better manage and conserve the limited water resources that are the lifeblood of so many economies and communities. I'll now turn to Senator Brasso for his opening remarks.